right, I'll say we will continue with the transmission in the following way. We have discussed the idea of writing your life story, writing that structure. Now we are going to discuss and share information about living your story, how to take that structure and turn it into a living experience. Now, of course, there are many ways, and it still all comes down to the idea of acting on your highest joy to the best of your ability without expectation every moment that you can. That is still the idea of the strong permission slip, as you say in your language, in a nutshell. Nevertheless, as we more deeply examine the notion of this particular story, structure, archetype, permission slip, it can give you, by dealing with its specific components, more understanding of the nature of the process, more clarity with how to use this inherently included in structure in your psyche. And so, we will suggest to follow through with the idea of really transforming that structure into something that is a living thing for you. The following idea. We have mentioned that there are, of course, many sources on your planet that describe the components of story structure. You can find these components listed in many of the books that exist in your society that have to do either with specifically story structure or writing, perhaps even screenplay books, how to write screenplays, how to understand story structures, or some of the philosophical books that we have mentioned. We'll discuss a list, we'll provide a list of the different components, the specific discrete components of story structure. As we have suggested, it would be in your best interest in following through in this particular exercise and permission slip to go and find one of those books, procure one of those books on story structure, and once you have that, if it is not already listed for you, which often it is, write down on a piece of paper each component of the story structure, starting with the hero, going all the way to the climax, and maybe even beyond what you might even call a little bit of an epilogue, if you wish. It's up to you. But list each component in order of the archetypal story structure. Now, once you have done that, you will now write a short story, the story that you would prefer to live, the story that you would prefer your life to be, your new life story, your preferred life story. You will write a short story and make sure that as you write it, you will include at least one description of one experience or one scene that you would prefer to create that is based on each of those story structure components, both positive and negative, in terms of facing challenges and overcoming them, transforming them, protagonist, antagonist, twists, mentors, call to action, all these things. Sit with it till you understand the components of the structure, and then begin to write a short story that describes the life that you wish to tell yourself, the life that you will begin to tell yourself, the story you will begin to tell yourself from that point forward after you write this story. Now, You don't have to be the best writer in the world. We're not saying this is a writing class. So you don't have to worry exactly about how you are describing these things. What is important is to make sure that the scene you are describing is based on that particular story, structure, archetypal component. Step 3, step 1 being isolate the story component, step 2 being write the story, step 3 is to begin to act out like you're an actor on the stage, either in the privacy of your own home or in front of friends. It's up to you at first. Act out that story as best you can. Provide props if you need, draw pictures if you need to put on your walls that represent whatever things you have represented ought to be in that scene that's representative of that story structure, archetypal component. Whatever you have to do to make it as real as you possibly can, make it as much like a true stage play as you can, but from beginning to end, act it out. All the things you wish to say, all the things you wish to do that are representative of your life. Now, it doesn't have to be every single thing. Just pick the strongest one, the most enjoyable one, the most challenging one, maybe even the most fearful one for those particular scenes that are based on that component, and just pick the one that is most representative in energy of that particular story component. Put it all together in your story and act it out as best as you can, as fully as you can, as if you are an actor on a stage, all the way from beginning to end. All the way from beginning to end. And you will do that 3 times in this particular exercise, in this particular permission slip, in this particular process. The first time, you will just do it. You will just start from the beginning and act it out, go all the way to the end. Now, this doesn't have to be very, very long. It can just be a few pages. It can be as many pages as you wish, but don't make it too long. Allow yourself to know that this is simply a representative symbol. This is an archetypal symbol. In and of itself, it just carries the proper resonances. It just carries the proper frequencies. And if you choose scenes that contain the highest amount of energy representative of each component, you will then have the appropriate frequencies and vibrations in place to go through the story from beginning to end. So first time you do it, just take a stand or sit or however you need to begin your story and just begin acting it out all the way to the end. That's the first time. Second time, allow yourself in some way, shape, or form to actually record it. You can videotape it, you can audio tape it, you can do both. Record yourself doing it. And before you start, actually say the word action. And then do it. Act it out all the way through to the end. And when you are done, before you turn off the recording, actually say the words, the end. That's the second pass. Now, the third pass is you will do this in front of someone. A friend, family member, someone. Not your pet, a person, or more than one. Ideally, at least 3. You will also, again, record it, video and or audio. You will start again with action at the beginning, go through it, get to the end, say the end. Allow the people, tell the people who are watching to also respond appropriately in those moments. Now, it doesn't in this case have to necessarily be what you would call a genuine response. If they laugh, if they cry, if they recoil in fear, naturally, that's fine. But ask them to actually do so even if they don't completely feel it. to give you the feedback, so that when you are going through a transformation and you are touching on the idea of either sadness or happiness or fear or joy, they will respond accordingly. Allow them to laugh, allow them to cry, allow them to do whatever they want, even if they appear to be faking it, so to speak, simulating it. For the purpose of this exercise, ask them to actually pretend to respond if they cannot come up with a genuine one. And go from beginning to end that way in this third time. Then, after you have done that, allow yourself then to look at or listen to the recording that you have made of yourself, telling yourself this new story, the story of who you prefer to be, both in joy and in the acceptance and transformation of the challenges that you will place in your story at the appropriate points, taking your cue from the archetypal components as they are timed out on the list of story structure elements. Watch or listen to yourself again, hearing that story, seeing you play out that story. This is, in a sense, a way to make a little bit more solid the idea of the visualization that goes on in your head, your imagination, your visualization of your ideal story. By actually recording it and seeing it, ideally, and or listening to it if you cannot visually record it, it will start to really anchor the energy of that imagination scenario, that visual symbol of that story. It will start to really anchor it vibrationally in your being. Because now you will actually have an externalized projection of what has been in your mind's eye. And even though it's still just a symbol, and you don't have to put any expectation on it, that it must come to fruition exactly as you wrote it, remember to always allow the higher mind to bring you unexpected twists. It will still nevertheless help really ground and anchor that visualization into your physical reality in much the same way that when you go and experience a film in your movie theater or a television show that you get caught up in, you will start to see and use all your senses in the same way, and it will really start to help make that particular scenario seem much more impactful, much more real, because when you do that with your own story, make your own movie of your own life story in this way, hitting exactly all the story structure components that will pluck chords within the story structure archetype in your consciousness, and you're seeing yourself do that, the response, the communication, the connection, the relevance, the resonance, the amplification, the magnification of that visualization will be profoundly more magnified for you than just keeping it in your head. It will seem far more real. It will seem experiential. It will start to rub off on you as if you've already actually experienced it. And that's the key to this particular permission slip exercise, is to get it out of your head, in front of your eyes, so that you are receiving the vision, hearing the energy, you are going through, you're identifying with it because it's you, and you're seeing yourself go through the exact transformative experiences in the story structure, the archetypal structure that you need to go through to really know that you've experienced this transformation. And you do this, you anchor it in, you lock it in, you resonate with it, it plucks those chords, and you really start to identify with that particular frequency of transformational story. That story becomes your story. Really becomes your story vibrationally. Again, doesn't matter if certain things will alter in the way that story actually plays out in your physical life. What you're doing here is anchoring to the vibrational points of the archetypal story structure, so that whatever comes in from the higher mind will fit that resonance and be exactly what it needs to be that scene in your story, in order for the overall story as the combination of scenes to ultimately be the energy that you prefer it to be. This can be a very powerful permission slip. You all know how entranced you get when you go and see a movie that sinks in. Well, this is your movie. Again, it doesn't have to be the most accomplished movie in the world. It doesn't have to be the best filming or the best writing in the world. It just has to be genuine. It just has to be honest. It just has to be sincere and heartfelt, and it has to be passionate in the sense that you know this is the story you prefer to tell. This is the story you prefer to tell to the world. This is the story you prefer to tell to yourself. This is the story that you know yourself to be. That's what makes the difference. And if you watch this over again 3 times at least, then it will really start to anchor in. And if you want to, if you feel creative enough, by all means, rewrite it, refine it, film it again, watch it again, go through this exercise as many times as you wish until you feel that really is your vibration. It's up to you. This is just a permission slip. You may find that your imagination will provide you other ideas of how to do this, and that's fine, because your imagination is key to your vibration, so let it. Let the unexpected twists crop up even in the doing of this particular permission slip creation, because creating this permission slip is still, what? A part of your story. So even the creating of your story is part of your story. So let that be all right for it to alter itself in whatever way, shape, or form it needs to in terms of the details, in terms of the expression, in terms of exactly how it manifests on the story spine, but do not alter the archetypal story structure. To do so, as we said, will be to eliminate the framework that creates context and relevance for what is already embedded in your physical mind psychology as an archetypal structure that you want the story to resonate with. So do not change the structure, but allow yourself to play with all the details. Be very creative of the details. Sometimes you don't even have to allow these details to be in what you would call linear order. Look at some of the films you have on your planet that are completely non-linear. They start at the beginning, start in the middle, start at the end, go backwards, go forwards, go left, right, up, down. But they do not forsake the actual archetypal structure. All the components of the structure are still there, even if the timeline is skewed. So you can be creative, but don't let go of the story structure. So, once again, very briefly, go and do your research, find a book or a source of information that lays out the list of the story structure components that are considered essential to the telling of any story in its fullest form. Make that list yourself. Don't just leave the list in the book. Actually write the list out. All of this, again, is for the purpose of anchoring this in you and making it your own. Because if you just leave it in the book, it won't be yours. Write it out, type it out, however you wish, but do it yourself. Make it your own. Write the list out. Then write the story. Once you are satisfied with that, then, as we said, act it out 3 ways. Just act it out yourself, kind of like what you would call a dress rehearsal. And by the way, if you know in that story you're actually wearing something different that you'd prefer to be wearing, wear it. If you want to do costume changes in your story, by all means, do them. Make it as real as possible. As if you were really watching an actor in a stage play, you would expect these kinds of changes. Some costume changes to liven it up, maybe even some lighting changes. Be creative with this. The more creative you can be, the more visceral and sensorial you can make this, the stronger the vibration will be, the stronger the impact will be within the resonant chords in your own psyche. So act it through once as a dress rehearsal. Then record it and say action at the beginning and the end. At the end. Then the 3rd time, record it in front of friends. Action at the beginning, the end. Then watch it. Watch it and look and allow yourself to really get into it. Let yourself go. Let yourself identify with it, but at the same time, be the audience. Let that be an actor that is not you, while at the same time it is you. Again, that balance moment that the actor on stage has when they are totally in the present with the part, feeling the character, feeling the emotion, feeling everything, feeling the transformations going on within their character, and at the same time are engaging with the audience, and the audience engaging with them. Be in that center point. Be the actor on the stage one time you watch it. Be the audience watching it objectively. Allow yourself to go back and forth and play with this idea as many times as it takes. Refine it if you want to. Reshoot it if you want to. Until such time as you begin to truly feel that when you walk away from that, it's as if you have seen a really wonderful film and you really can remember it. You can feel it all. You can identify with it all. And if someone were to ask you, just as they often do on your planet, oh, you just saw a movie? What was it? What was it about? You would actually be able to tell that story, relate that story to them of your own movie in the same way that you relate any story of any movie they ask you to tell them after you have seen the movie, if it has made a strong impact on you. That, in fact, is the next stage of this idea, is then find someone to simply tell the story to. Say, I've made this movie, it's my story, the story of my life as I'd love it to be, and I would like to tell it to you. If you cannot tell them the story totally, easily, smoothly, from beginning to end, from heart, you have missed something. Go back and do it again until it really becomes you. Go back and change whatever needs to be changed that is more memorable than what's there. Until such time as you can actually relate the story to someone from beginning to end in all the glorious details and all the glorious feelings and all the glorious surround sound in your mind that you remember, and relate it to them in that way as if you are reliving the movie. Make it your own from beginning to end. When you don't falter, when you're able to get it out smoothly, effortlessly, and able to transmit that information to someone else, then it's in you. You've got it. It's yours. That's your story. Now, that again doesn't mean it can't change. But the point is that once you do this, you'll be able to do it all the time. You'll know how it works. You can always do it in the way that we've just described externally if you wish. But anytime your story changes or anytime you want to make a change, you can also now do it internally if you believe that making that alteration in your visualization, in your mind's eye, will be as strong for you emotionally, viscerally, energetically, as it was to actually see it. If it's not, if you do that and you don't feel it as strongly, then go the other way and actually work this exercise out, live it in the way we've just described it, film it in the way we've just described it, and put it in there. It means that you're going in to edit your life story, and you're really doing it as if you would edit a film, so that it again becomes grounded, locked in, visual, visceral, tangible, a reality for you, a real impactful story for you, and then play it again and tell it again. So write the structure, write the story, act it out 3 times or more if you wish, and then allow yourself to watch it as if you're an audience member, really relate to it. Balance it out, edit it, perfect it however you want to, and once it is where you want to and you've watched it and absorbed it, tell someone who hasn't seen it, who has not seen it. Tell someone the story as if they asked you to tell them, what was that movie you saw? You seem very excited about it. Tell me about it. Tell me the story. Tell it to them and see if you can tell it all the way through, beginning to end, simply and easily, and that you feel the excitement while you're telling it. You are now a storyteller telling them this story. You become the storyteller energy. It becomes your first nature. And when it becomes your first nature, and when you're excited about telling this story to someone, then you'll be excited about your story. And anytime you change it to be more representative of what you believe it needs to be, you'll be that excited. It will come naturally to you. You'll become a natural storyteller to yourself, and you'll be more capable of altering your story in the way you prefer it to be in a heartbeat. You'll be able to do that in a moment's notice. Someone comes up to you, pitch me your story. What's your story? Bang. You'll be able to pitch it in a heartbeat, in 5 minutes or less. No problem. Because it's your story, it's yours, it's locked in, you know the vibration, it's visceral, it's tangible, it's real, it's you. Your story. Your unique, exciting, passionate, challenging story. Everyone take a moment to take a deep breath. In and out. In and out. In and out. Take a moment to relax and feel the excitement of the anticipation of doing this permission slip or whatever variation your imagination comes up with. Get excited about it. Get excited about the process itself, because that's part of your story. Don't leave this out. Don't say, oh, well, yes, there's that story, but now I have to do all this work to put this together. No, you don't. It's up to you. But if you really want to make an impact on yourself, you'll do exactly what people do when they tell stories. They will put themselves into it. They'll be excited and passionate about it. They will want to tell that story because it's exciting to tell that story. And this is your story. This is your story. This, if you're going to get excited about any story, get excited about this one. It's your story. The most exciting story of your life is your life. So get excited about it. Get excited about all the components of it. And allow yourself to create a story that resonates with that archetypal structure so it becomes a living story. Every day, every scene, beginning, middle, and end, all the archetypes recognizable, relatable, respondable, so you know exactly what to do when they crop up. And all those scenes in combination will add up and build up and build up and allow you to experience an overarching life story that is a grand epic. Allow you to live it every day fully. Your story, your unique, beautiful, brilliant, passionate, challenging, wondrous, magical story. Every breath you take adds to the story. Every thought you think adds to the story. Everything you feel is part of the story. Be willing to dig deep and find those things, even the fearful ones, because as we said, they add to the story. And that's exciting. Tell the story. You want the film to be exciting. You want the book to be exciting. You want it to be, as you people say, a page turner. You don't want to put it down. You want to know what happens next. What happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Oh, what happens next? Oh, what happens next? Oh, what happens next? That's what you want. You want to know. You want to know. You want to know what happens next. Because that's a good story. And that's a story worth remembering, worth living, worth being. We will add a few ideas to this in the live transmissions. But for now, allow yourself to absorb this information and start allowing yourself to imagine how you will uniquely go about, if you wish to, doing this particular permission slip exercise. To live your story, take your structure and make it a living thing. We thank you for allowing us to share this information with you all in this way. And we will look forward to seeing, reading, watching your stories as they unfold. Because we are always watching you. And the chief question in our minds is always, what happens next? You have a very exciting story together and individually. Very exciting story. Far from over. And we cannot wait to see what happens next. We will resume this transmission shortly. Enjoy another intermission.